The more she dug, the more the building itself began to turn against her. Lights flickered, whispers grew louder, and something unseen lurked in the dark. Boma moved into the towering Emerald Heights building that Tuesday morning. She stepped out of the cab, carrying a single suitcase and a stack of notebooks. She was ready for a new chapter in her life. But something about the building made her uneasy. She shrugged it off, smiling at the doorman as they welcomed her in. Her apartment on the 14th floor was perfect. Large windows overlooked the city, and the furniture was beautiful and comfortable. But as she moved her luggages in, she noticed something odd. The elevator's panel had no button for the 15th floor. Curious, she asked her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Ade, about it. Mrs. Ade's face flushed. That floor? No one speaks of it. They say it's cursed. People who live there vanished, just like that, snapping her fingers for emphasis. Boma chuckled nervously. Cursed? That's a bit dramatic, isn't it? Mrs. Ade leaned closer. Listen to me, young lady. Don't go poking your nose where it doesn't belong. Some stories are better left untold. Boma felt a cold chill running down her spine, but she shrugged it off as none of her business. That night, as Boma sat by her desk typing, she heard faint footsteps and whispers from above. She stood up and looked up, her heart racing. But the 15th floor doesn't exist, she muttered. The sounds grew louder, then stopped abruptly. The next morning, she approached the building manager, Mr. Kalu, about the noise. His reaction surprised her. He froze, his face pale. Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. Just enjoy your stay here. Boma's journalist instincts were piqued. She started digging into the building's history and found a blueprint in the archives. It clearly showed a 15th floor that has been sealed off. The words, family tragedy, were scrawled in the margins. That night, unable to resist her curiosity, Boma ventured into the stairwell. She climbed past the 14th floor and found a dusty locked door labeled 15. To her surprise, a key was hidden under the doormat. Her hands trembled as she turned the lock and pushed the door open. The air was cold and stale. The hallway was dimly lit, with peeling wallpaper and a faint smell of mildew. At the end of the corridor, she found an old diary lying on the floor. The name, Adaora, was written on the cover. Boma flipped through its pages, her eyes widening as she read. Dear Diary, my husband has changed. Since we moved into this new apartment, he's been hearing voices, seeing shadows. He says the walls are alive. The entries grew darker. Adara's husband became paranoid and violent, claiming the floor was cursed. One stormy night, he disappeared. Adara's final entry read, If you find this, leave. The floor is alive. It won't let you go. Boma's heart pounded as she heard footsteps behind her. She turned, but no one was there. The walls seemed to shift and breathe. Shadows darted across the edges of her vision. She grabbed the diary and ran back to her apartment, slamming the door behind her. Over the next few days, the whispers grew louder, lights flickered, and her dreams were filled with haunting images of Adaura's ghostly figure. One night, the elevator doors opened by themselves, and the button for the 15th floor glowed faintly. Against her better judgment, Boma stepped inside. The elevator creaked as it ascended. When the doors opened, she was back on the 15th floor. This time, the hallway was alive. The walls pulsed, and ghostly figures emerged. Their faces twisted in anguish. Adara's ghost appeared, her voice a whisper. You shouldn't have come here. The floors hungers for new souls. The walls began closing in, forcing Boma to run. She barely escaped back to her apartment, clutching the diary tightly. She knew she couldn't stay in the building any longer. Boma pieced together the truth. The building's owner, Chief Oba, had performed a forbidden ritual for wealth, spilling 2 human blood on the floor of the building where he lived. The ritual cursed the 15th floor, trapping his family's spirits and anyone else who ventured there. Determined to expose the truth, Boma confronted Chief Oba in his lavish office. Chief Oba laughed menacingly. "You think you are the first to uncover this? No one will believe you. The floor will silence you too." As Boma left his office, she noticed something chilling. The elevator buttons had changed. The 15th floor button now glowed faintly. Adara's voice whispered in her ears, "It's not over." Boma moved out of the building the next day, but the diary remained with her. Late at night in her new apartment, she heard faint whispers from above. She froze, her heart pounding, and she whispered back, "Leave me alone." But the whispers only grew louder. Some mysteries, she realized, could never truly be left behind. In her new home, Boma began to feel the weight of the diary. She started hearing Adara's voice not only at night, but during the day, warning her that a curse had followed her. Determined to rid herself of the unseen, Boma reached out to an elderly priestess known for breaking ancient spells. The priestess, Mama Ekene, listened to Boma's story with a grave expression. "The spirits are tied to you now. You have awoken something that cannot rest until justice is served. We must return to the source." Boma's heart sank as she realized she would have to return to Emerald's Heights. Armed with protective charm and Mama Ekene's guidance, she stepped back into the building, feeling the oppressive energy even stronger this time. As they ascended to the 15th floor, the elevator stopped suddenly and the lights flickered. Mama Ekene chanted softly, her voice steady despite the shadows swirling around them. When the doors opened, the hallway seemed endless, stretching into darkness. Adara's ghost appeared, her face sad but determined. "You have come back. The floor can only be freed if the one who cursed it faces justice." Chief Oba appeared at the other end of the hallway, his form distorted and monstrous. The walls began closing in, but Mama Ekene held her ground, her chants growing louder. "Boma, confront him. Speak the truth." Boma stepped forward, her voice trembling but firm. "Chief Oba, your greed destroyed countless lives. The spirits demand your repentance." The hallway erupted in chaos as the spirits surged towards Chief Oba, dragging him into the walls. His screams echoed, then faded into silence. The oppressive energy lifted, and the hallway returned to its normal state. Adara's ghost smiled faintly. "Thank you. We can rest now." She and the other spirits faded away, leaving Boma and Mama Ekene standing alone. Boma left Emerald Heights for good, but the experience changed her. She wrote an article exposing Chief Oba's crimes and the mystery of the 15th floor, ensuring the story would never be forgotten. Though the whispers ceased, she always kept Mama Ekene's protective charm close, just in case. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring and suspense-filled tales.